Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Business Intelligence and Analytics Career Day. This event today is a collaboration between the Career Development Center and the Business Intelligence and Analytics Department. We've had alumni join us for undergraduate classes all day and now for master's classes in the evening. My name is Danielle, and I am an Associate Director in the Career Development Center. The purpose of the conversations that we've had today is to give you guys some insight into different career paths, industries, and to get advice onto how to enter and thrive in those fields. All of the sessions are recorded and they're going to be added to the Career Development Center's YouTube channel, so you can access any of the speakers' conversations after tonight. So now I would like to introduce this evening's guest, Rubby Ike-Ikechi. We're so excited to have her. Rubby graduated from St. Joe's in 2020 with a master's in business intelligence and analytics. She's currently a senior IT auditor for the government of Dekalb County in Georgia. Prior to working for Dekalb County, Rubby held roles in IT audit and data analytics and was the lead IT review analyst for Diamond Bank. She also spent a short time working as a data analyst for St. Joe's before securing her current government position. So I'm excited to welcome Rubby back to Hawk Hill. So Rubby, I have a list of questions I'll be asking you. We'll follow this up with 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A. So those of you guys in the audience, just feel free to put your questions in the chat box as we go, and then we'll address everything at the end of the session. And I'll also give you a chance to unmute yourselves then too, if you'd rather just ask in person. All right, so let's get started. Rubby, can you describe within your role the core responsibilities and what a typical day or week looks like for you?
All right, Danielle, thank you so much for the introduction and welcome everyone. I think I'm very, very excited to be here. It feels like, it's the St. Joe's thing. My sets were the ones that started off with the online when the COVID started. So right. It was kind of like explained in between. So thank you, everyone. So going to what you just said, it's my daily schedule. What I do basically I'm an IT auditor and also an analyst. So now my daily schedule goes like, having meetings, and the meetings is all about engaging with different clients. And these are like different cross-business areas, cross-functional teams, and, management, both vertically and, horizontally. So when I say vertically, so like with the senior management and also with those at pair, and apart from these engagements, I also go through work. So being an IT auditor and also being a review analyst has you to do a kind of test of controls, identifying risks, identify where there are vulnerabilities, and also looking out for where there are process improvement in all the different areas of business in the county, in the government. So now what does is a very busy day for anybody in my team, because not just engagement, these engagements are like having you as a business analyst understand each process of what goes on the different business areas, because any area you want to review, you want to understand the process, what they are doing, how they go about it, all with the objective to add value, to improve on their process, and also identify where there are control gaps, where there are risks, so that at the end of the day, you can make recommendations based on the walkthroughs and the test of controls. And where I want to go into more would be, as a business analyst, it comes with being curious why you're doing this engagement. And when it comes to test of controls, that's where your analytical skills come in as a data analyst, because you're going to like review volume of data, trying to look out for trends. So basically on a daily basis, it's all about meeting and analyzing processes and data. Thank you, Daniel.
Sure, that was a great description. I love what you said about really understanding the business, because giving those recommendations, even though you may see something as the analyst, you really have to understand how it's going to fit into the actual area that you're working with. So
Exactly.
I think that's applicable for every, any job that a business analyst would go into.
Mhm.
So when did you know, Ruby, that this was the career path you wanted to pursue, and what led you to make that decision?
Wow, that's a great question, Daniel. So this decision would be because I started off as an IT auditor. So the decision to have a mix of business intelligence and analytics was when, in the process of doing some of these audits, I found out that there were a lot of skills that I needed to be smarter at the job, and which involved data. It was kind of like evolving all the areas, because I started with the financial sector, with a bank. So most of the areas, most of the functions, everything is just, evolving. The data is increasing, and to catch up with what they are doing, to be able to see what is happening, is not just by engaging them in, talks and meetings. It now has to be like looking into the data. Most times that we're dependent on other units to give us this data, to also kind of tell us what we want to know. And I found it that it wasn't independent. It kind of like was personal on us, that I felt I don't really like depending so much on people on when I want to do something and get it done fast. So it was at that point that I said, no, I think I need this skill to be able to do this and be smarter at this, and get projects running and on time. So it was at that point that I took that decision to like, okay, what can I do? Business intelligence, analytics, and the blend, business, because you have so many courses out there. You have data analyst courses, you have, some that are just business analysts, but St. Joe's own was kind of like unique for me because it has that blend of business intelligence and also the data analytics. So when I looked through the content, it actually was a great fit for what I was looking at. So it was at a point of trying to be better at my job, that made me take that decision and start looking at what I can do. And I was able to get to see St. Joseph course and their details, and I kind of like went for it. Thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that too.
Mhm.
What would you say is the typical career path for a data analyst or an auditor? And I may be missing the terminology with other positions that could be related to this field, but specifically within your organization, what would that look like?
For us, I mean, it's kind of like broad, and like I think I'm happy that you say specific. So because most times when you look out for associate jobs and roles, the names differ, but most of the time they are basically kind of like doing the same thing. So, but for us, we look at roles like business analysts. I mean, it doesn't have to be too much of the technology, but business analysts, IT associates, IT audit associates, business analysts, IT security associates. I mean, data analysts too, and data governance. These are the different paths, the career paths that you can go, because it's look at it as a very large and enterprise thing, because when it comes to government, there are so many areas. You talk about the police, you talk about the fire service, you talk about the IT. So it's really, really wild. So there's actually a place for everybody, because there's always a lot of projects going on. So like I said, it could be the data analyst, data governance, the business analyst, the typical one that everybody's like who's out there, and several operational analysts too. I mean, so those are the career paths that could be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. What would you say that you enjoy most about your profession, and what's something that you wish you could change?
I'll say the most thing would be the engagement, talking with people, engaging with people, different people, even though you don't know what they are doing, but during those engagements. So what I enjoy is for the fact that you're somebody that can develop relationships, that can engage with people, have the skill to communicate, have the skills to engage, develop relationships. I think I like it because this job gives you that opportunity to meet with several people at different levels and at different areas. And it kind of like opens you to so many experiences, even projects that you haven't even been previewed to before. They come to you and you kind of like use that same project to learn in the process, understand it. So I think the interesting thing for me there is the experience, wide experience. You're not limited to any area, and also having to engage people every day and, thinking of the process improvements and other ways. So I think that's an interesting thing for me. Then if you say, when it comes to something to change, I guess there's this feeling when people hear of audit or review assurance, they kind of like become a little bit of defensive, like, what is she gonna look at for, at first. So, but if you're somebody that has that very great skill at communication and engaging people, you will be able to overcome that, because you have to make them know that you're coming to add value. You're not just coming to check what they are doing or pick what they are not doing, because audit has evolved from picking just what people are doing. You're actually trying to add value to the whole ecosystem, looking at what is going on, how can we improve our processes, what are we doing, and also let them know that you are the line of defense, making sure that nothing comes to the organization, so that they're kind of like comfortable that this person is just to make sure that if there's anything falling off the track, they will be able to identify and say, please, let's take care of this before it comes from outside. So it is the only thing, like I said, it's just that first mindset of people seeing that you're a review person or an auditor coming, they kind of like try to build that the barrier of defense, but your way of coming out to them and communicating and making it transparent on your process, what you want to do, how you want to go about it, just tell them the whole scope, the methodology, what you're going to do. So it kind of like puts them. So that's something that I always say that most auditors should always do. Yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, that was a really interesting answer. Making sure that you are on the same team as them. And I think it's so interesting what you said about communication, because as someone from outside of the field, I wouldn't think that that is a big part of what you guys do, but that makes so much sense. And maybe we'll dive into that a little bit more later. What has surprised you the most about your career so far?
The only surprise, and I think would be to every other person out there, would be when you're out, it looks like it's going to be a very complex thing, or is a complex job. So, most times when you're out there looking for a job or trying to go into a career or into a path or into a role, it looks like, okay, maybe based on what you're taught in class, all the codes, all the scripts. So you feel when you come on board, you're going to be bombarded with all those, but that's not the case. It's as simple as being curious and asking questions. So that's, that's like, oh, are they going to give me this project and say, okay, you are a business analyst, or you're just jump into it and start? No. So it's as simple as ask basic questions, and it's as simple as the least thing that you were taught in class to start with it. So that's it. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. I want to focus on the actions that students need to take, and just want to remind everybody, if you do have questions for Ruby, please submit them in the chat box. So Ruby, what are 2 to 3 steps that you would suggest students take while in graduate school to help prepare them for entering this field or elevating themselves in this field upon graduation?
Okay, so I think what I would say is, where your area of strength is, or where you are really interested in, because there are several fields in business analysis and business intelligence and data analytics. You have, several areas. You can even break it down to the courses that we take in class when we are in graduate school, like St. Jude's. So you could say, oh, I want to be more of data visualization, doing that, if that is your area. So what I would say is go into that get more skills on that, improve yourself on that. You don't have to, be best in everything, because there are jobs, there are roles for every of these roles out there that you can fit into. So what I would advise is, whatever is your interest, build more on that. If it's data mining or database, like I know most of you already know the 630, the database, introduction to database. If it's data visualization, if it's business and data mining, that will go into, analyzing the different processes, whichever one it is, build more strengths on that and have your strength in that. Because all these other ones, you will have the basic knowledge. That is fine, just for the interview, just, to talk about it so that you don't look like a novice. But any area you're interested in, build more on those skills and be ready so that you have an edge when you come out there. I mean, there is really opportunity to show yourself for whichever one you're interested in, and don't just try to be best in everything. So that's what I would say, that the 3 steps will be: identify where the one that you feel so, comfortable with, you like this course, you want to do it. Identify that first. When you identify that, then build more on that, get more skills, more than what you already know on it, to, make yourself unique and make yourself a power in it, so that when you're talking, you talk with it. Then the other ones, the basic knowledge are good. It will, you find your feet out there. So that's what I would say. Thank you, Daniel.
That makes sense. So basically, kind of try to become an expert in one area rather than generalizing your skills. Do you feel like when you begin a career in this field, or when you're accepting a new job, that's something that they ask you in the interview process? I know this is kind of a secondary question, but just wondering if that could help people. Is that something that employers want to know? What area of this field do you really know well?
Okay, yeah. I mean, most times when it comes to IT audits, and these things, it depends on where you're coming from, because most times organization wants somebody that has an audit background and also have a data analysis skills, capabilities. So now, depending on what area you're coming into, if you're coming in as a pure analyst, the questions out there would be how you think, how you're going to solve the problem. Because most times the tools are just the same, and the tools, basics, it could be that you learned Power BI, or you learned W, or even the basic Excel, but how you went about looking for the data and like what actually you're looking out for. What are you looking out for in this data? It's not even about the tool. Yes, most times they say, oh, somebody that has W skills are good because this is the tool we have. But most times organizations know that by the time that being a graduate, if you come in 2 weeks, maximum 1 month, somebody can put you through the tool and you know how to write, So, but the most important thing there would be, okay, this tool, the basic things there, but can you really know how to ask questions, to analyze what you have and come up with insights from it? So the major questions will be general questions to find out how you think. However, there are some organizations that will also, because I think I went through an interview, I mean, I could say this one with a big, one of the, top industries, so the basic things they ask will be your thinking. Then if they're going to ask, for instance, something along database, they could ask the simplest basic things we were taught in class. Maybe how do you do select? And you just say it, So, but I mean, for me, the questions are like questions to find out how you think about solving a problem. How do you go about the problem? How are you going to solve it? And just to know, oh, do you know how to use W? Oh, yes. If you don't know, so don't worry. I mean, but if you're able to tell them, if you're able to scale through the problem solving, and if you know the tool is an added advantage for you, but if you don't know it, I mean, it's not really much of a problem. Yeah.
Okay. And you know, that makes sense going back to your point of kind of trying to specialize as well, because then you might go about solving a problem in a way
Mhm.
that someone else might not have. Or you might do that better than them because you've really focused in that one area. So thank you for expanding on that. Um, so how would you say that your SJU education impacted how you work or the career decisions that you've made to date?
My I mean, it was a good one. I don't know how to say it because when I started this job, I mean, I would just start from that. When I started, I was just like 6, 7 months into it and I got a promotion. And what was it? Just the simple skills that we learned from, St. Joseph's. Many organizations out there so many people are busy to even think through how to make work easy. I mean, to make it better. For instance, it could be, like I already said, data visualization. There's this report, you could see that pages of reports. Meanwhile, you could see that, okay, these pages of reports can be, compressed to a little page with some little visualizations that management could just look at and take their decisions, and they will be glad that you do that. So my education in St. Joe's with courses like data visualization, data mining, database, intro to database were really, really helpful because it made me to stand out, not just being an auditor, but being able to look into data. Now, most people, like when I joined, most teams now, kind of like come for support. Oh, they have this data and you're able to like, oh, you have this, just do this. And you see the insight and whatever they are looking for is just on their face. You don't even have to do that much talking again with the clients, with the business areas, because you've already looked at the data. Because most important thing is, which we all already know being in this course, is by the time you take a data from an organization and review it, you might not have to ask plenty questions. You've already seen everything that is happening by looking through the data and seeing the trend. And for us that are in audit and risk, so by the time you look at the data, you can see where the control gaps are. You will now see what is wrong, what is going on with this data. Then you will come from a place of strength when you're now asking questions. You're not coming from a place of also now only trying to understand. You also come from a place of, I noticed it, what happened, what is going on. You understand? So I would say the skills and the knowledge I got from St. Joseph kind of like, I think it kind of like solved that my aim from the beginning to make my work smarter, not to depend on anyone, but to be able to get these, the tools, the resources, the whatever I need to do the job by myself and do it and get it on time. So I think it's a great one. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, last question in this area, but what would you suggest, or would you suggest that students who may just be starting a career in business intelligence or switching careers into this field try to secure an internship or to prepare for a role in this industry? If not an internship, another type of experience, and what types of experiences would be beneficial?
An internship would be fine. Then if you don't have opportunity for an internship, I mean, you can also work on your own. So to be an IT auditor or review analyst, for me, there are some key things. Like I say, I always start from the soft skills, being curious. You have to be very curious. Then if you really want to be an auditor, there are some certifications out there that could also help you if you have the time, I mean, to go through it, which are like the CIA Certified Internal Auditor or the Certified Information System Auditor. I mean, most times when they post some jobs, you see them saying, if you have these qualifications, I mean, is an added advantage or to put you to, I mean, a kind of level. So these are some of the things, some of the certifications that you can get in that. But outside that, the skills are, if it's an IT auditor or an auditor, then try to familiarize yourself with, some make sure you know the basic process of auditing. I mean, just the basic process. How does it go? You have like 7 stages or 5 stages. You just know it because that's what you're going to use to scale through in the interview. So even if you don't know the details, by the time you start the work, like I said, don't be surprised. You kind of like grab everything as soon as you start. So don't bother yourself so much with getting into, but just the basic things. If you're trying to warm up into an IT audit or internal audit role, then know the basic process of auditing, from what planning, field work, just that, what goes on each one. Then if you're trying to be an analyst, like I said, the analyst is kind of like a broad one. Concentrate on which one and find out what it's all about. If it's an analyst, it could also be, like you said, it could be that you want to concentrate on SQL. Then Microsoft SQL or Oracle or whichever one, then gain some strengths on it if there are some other skills you want to get. And even the ones that we get from SARS, in St. Joe's, when you're done with the program, at the end of the program, we are also getting a SARS certificate. By the time you put up SARS in your resume, so many people are also going to come for you. So if that's also what you're interested in, make sure you know to an extent to give you that edge, concentrate and get more skills on it. So what I would say is, if you want to get an internship, that's fine, but let it be in the area that you want to concentrate on. If it's audit, like I said, you can look for IT for audit areas. If it's analyst, data analyst, or just business analyst, you look for it. But in our area, I mean, for audits, it would be nice if you have some few months of audit experience, because it now comes like from the strength, oh, this person has done a little bit of audit, that means he knows the basic process, so it will give you an edge that you have a basic, so you can start with that on the internship. But if you're not able to get that internship, just know it. If you know it and you're able to present, if you write it on your resume and you're able to defend it in an interview, the basic, because nobody is going to ask you to write a thesis on it on interview or to show it. So if you're writing it as, oh, I know audits and all those on your resume, then be able to speak to it during your interview too, because they're going to like try to weigh what level you are. And most times, even when they take you because you're very good at your critical thinking and everything, and you say audit, they might just weigh you at what level, and it's based on that. They may not say, no, we're not hiring you. You could be hired. However, kind of like, okay, we're going to just give this person an associate, or instead of this, it just be a salary range, but you will still have that opportunity to come in.
Perfect. Thanks, Ruby. All right, so we're coming to a close. I have a couple final questions for you. What is something that you wish someone told you while you were in graduate school? And what is a piece of advice you would give to students who are interested in this career path?
Wow, that's a great
Big
one.
question.
Yes. And I actually have one. In fact, what I actually have preferred, somebody told me about, was to be serious with some personal projects. When I was in graduate school, we have a lot of, team projects, doing some projects. And we also have these Tuesdays and makeup classes for Tableau and Power BI, where people go, where they say, if you're having challenges with your assignments, come up on those days. Some people are available to teach, to put you through. I mean, these are things that though we were told, but I mean, I don't think we took it serious, So I wish I knew that somebody told me that take that serious and also take the personal project. I had it in mind when I was in school, like, okay, can I do a personal project? Because there are so many websites, so many platforms, like when you have your team projects for analysis, for data mining, for database, intro to database, to data visualizations, those projects somehow, because you feel it was a team project, most times when you want to present them, you're not too confident. But I started one actually to start a personal one, go into the platform, hub IT, get a data, go through the process that you went through with your team, do one on your own, have a personal project that you did, so that by the time you have it, you have that experience that I did this project. And when you're putting it on your resume that you did it, because it's your project, and you took your time to get the data, analyze it, whether you're doing it through data mining or you're doing data visualization or combination of two on that data that you got from these different platforms that post, data for projects, for Python, for R, for data mining. There are so many platforms where you get those data. Get one, work on it on yourself, and have a personal project. I wish I had it because, it would have helped me at the beginning, to have something to say, this is mine, and it will help you to know where exactly you didn't get in the course. So there's one thing I'll say that I wish somebody told me, make sure you have that and have a personal project portfolio. Yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, I've lost my controls. I don't know where they went, sorry. So I thought I was still muted. But thank you for sharing that. That's really interesting. So when you're going on these interviews, do you share any type of work like that with with potential employers when you're saying like have this personal project? Is that just for your own practice, or is that something that you might also share professionally?
Yes, because when we go into some of these interviews, most recurring questions will be, tell us what you did recently and how you went about it.
Okay.
So it's actually like a recurring question everywhere. So now, and it's kind of like also because I've also had the opportunity to interview people to bring in people on board in my organization. Most people, when you ask them projects they are doing recently, is like picking here and there. You know what I mean? By the time you ask them, you throw that question to somebody, okay, can you walk me through a project that you did or you're working on recently? It is now like picking different things. But if you have something that you've worked on, that question will throw you off board. So you already have something, some projects you've done, and you can confidently put somebody through how you went about getting your data, analyzing it, what you did, your objective, what you wanted to achieve, and at the end of the day, what you were able to know, the insights you were able to get from it. So I think that's why I'm saying put it that way, especially for those that don't have much experience. But if you have past experiences where you have so many things that you've actually worked on that you can speak to, that's fine. But but if you're coming like you're switching your career, you don't have much from your past experience based on your business intelligence and data analytics, role that you're trying to switch into. So that's where it comes on hand. But if you're kind of like still in the same role where you are, then I believe you already have things that you can speak with. But if you're somebody that is into business intelligence, you're switching the career, you're into it. So I guess it's good to have such things because you're going to be thrown off board to tell somebody what you have been up to recently.
That's amazing advice. I think that that's a great idea to have a personal project that you can refer to. It's like we tell people in the Career Center, you want to have like your toolbox of things that you can draw from when you get these questions that you're not expecting. So you always want to have something in mind that you had recently worked on. So I think that's really, really good advice. All right, we're going to transition to the Q&A. We had one question come through, Ruby. They want to know, what was your track at St. Joe's? Was it cybersecurity? I think it said, my screen is breaking up, so I can't see exactly what the question said, but I think they asked if it was cybersecurity or managerial. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, sure. My track was cybersecurity. That's because I took the DSS 750 Introduction to Cybersecurity. So I would say that it was cybersecurity because I also did that, and yeah, that's what it was, cybersecurity, not managerial.
Okay. And were there any courses in particular that you found useful in your career as an auditor now? Like looking back, you're like, oh, that was a really good one. I'm glad that I took that.
No, I didn't get that.
Oh, I'm sorry. was there any courses that you took at St. Joe's that were particularly useful for your career now? Looking back, you would suggest that others who are interested in a similar career path take?
I mean, like I've been saying, I guess I will always start from the interest, because when I was in St. Joe's, we had several tracks like the Python, the R, and all the rest. I didn't want to go so much into coding, and that's one thing I didn't want to do, but I also wanted to know the basic, how it goes, what happens, but I didn't want to go so much into it. So I would say that most times the truth is out there. There's so many roles, and that's why I said, so that you don't get confused with all these things. If you're already, and like you already said, Daniel, if you have your toolbox, the things the basic things and when I talked about the surprises are nothing is complex out there in the organization. It could be looking so complex on the job description that they put out there, what they want, the requirement, and it looks, so, intimidating. But when you get in there, it's not that much intimidating. That's why I usually say, okay, put in your skills, the basic things like Daniel says, so that during the screening, the filtering, your resume will still be there. However, have your strength areas where you can confidently speak to when it comes to those roles that you're interested in, you want to go into. So that's what I would say, that depending on the track you want to go through, make sure you build yourself to be able to speak to it, defend it at any point in time. Then also add all these other skills that you have so that your resume will still be there to be able to speak to somebody. And the most important thing in everything is being curious. Just ask questions. Be very, very curious. So what I will advise everybody is, identify that your area, build on it, ask questions, put your resume. The career center is there. I think when I was in school, as a graduate student, I was always going to career center, but you're not like, why is this lady going out there? But I think I knew what I wanted to do, because when you're in school, you know what you want to achieve, and you don't want to come out there and stay too long. So I didn't want to stay out too long looking for, so I wanted everything to be intact, so that as soon as I'm coming out, and I'll tell you, as soon as I came out, I get up to 2 offers immediately, because, yeah, so you're going to like put those things there, then have your strength. And like I said, have something to speak with. I also knew I needed that portfolio thing, but I didn't take it serious. Somebody, so like I said, it's one of the things that I wish somebody hammered it on me, like, you need to get this, because it kind of like also put me off in some interviews that I had at the initial time. I couldn't confidently, and I was so like confused. When I did my team projects, am I supposed to, so those confusions here and there were kind of in between. So I was like, I wish I completed one of the things I did so I would be able to speak to them. So I would say that there are a lot of opportunities out there for us, for you. Be confident, build on what you want, get the skills. If it's in my area, like I've already said, in the government sector, there's what we call the yellow book. That's the generally accepted standards. You could just know what it even means, the definition, so that when you're talking like you're not a novice, not when somebody asks you yellow book, now what is yellow book? So if it's an area that you're interested, just the definition is enough to tell somebody that, okay, you know it, it's just that you don't know the details. And that will bring you to a level of an associate. So it wouldn't take you to a high, but at least you get the job. And when you get the job, like I said, as soon as you come in with what you know, they will see, everybody will see that you know, that you have the skills. You get it. So the first thing is, how do I break into coming in? And coming in is being confident, knowing the basic things that you'll be asked. Like I said, know how to solve problems, know how to, if they throw a question to you, think through it. Is not, it might be a sentence, but they just want you to reason it through how you go about solving it. If you're able to go through that, the surprises when you come in there is as simple as ABCD.
Well, I think that's great advice to kind of sign off on unless anybody has any other questions. Thank you so much, Ruby. I feel like, you know, you've inspired me to like think more about my own career. So thank you for that. Anybody, does anyone else have any questions? I don't have access to my chat box right now. So if anyone does have a question, I'll give you a second. Feel free to speak up. Okay.
Those were great questions.
Oh,
Sean,
perfect.
can you
Go
pull up
ahead.
one? Yeah, I can, honestly, all of them were hit when you asked them, so I appreciate the questions to answer my own. But yeah, right now I have none, but I just want to say thank you for the responses.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you felt like the questions were relevant for you guys. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Anybody else? All right. Well, then with that, please join me in thanking Ruby for joining us today and providing such great insight into her career. Ruby, we're so grateful for your time, and we hope to see you back on Hawk Hill again soon. And just as a reminder, everybody, if you want to tune into any of the other speakers, next week, all of the videos will be on the Career Development Center's YouTube channel, and you can get there through sju.edu/careers. So thank you again, Ruby. Thank you, Jarrett, and thank you, everybody. Have a good night.